morning, everybody. Excited to be here today with you. I'm Ben Sprango. I'm the head of strategy at Solana Labs. Today I'm joined by some of the leaders in the Solana Web3 ecosystem. To my left, Ronil from Audius. In the middle there, Sumit from Chingari. And on the far left, Bram from Kin. So I wanted to kick it off today just with brief introductions about what everybody here is working on in the Solana ecosystem, just so everyone has context, and then dive in further into design choices about building Web3 on Solana. So Ronil, if you want to kick it off, just give everybody a little intro on Audius and what you guys are working on.
Yeah, I'm Ronil. I'm one of the co-founders of Audius. Audius is a digital streaming service that connects fans directly with artists and exclusive new music. Sees about 6.5 million monthly listeners right now, and about 200,000 artists have uploaded so far, and the product is fully decentralized. Been decentralized since day one.
Hey guys, I'm Sumit. I'm the CEO and founder of Chingari. We are building the TikTok of Web3. We actually started as a Web2 app, like usually called as the India's version of TikTok when TikTok got banned in India. But now we have a bigger vision, way bigger vision. We migrated from a Web2 app to Web3. Almost 30 million users use Chingari every month, and it's an exciting journey, going from a Web2 to Web3 app.
I'm Bram. I'm Chief Technology Lead at Kin Foundation. And Kin is an in-app cryptocurrency originated by the Kik Messenger for consumer-grade apps and games. And Kin rewards their developers using the KRE, the Kin Rewards Engine. We have about 2 million monthly active users and 60 million wallets on Solana.
Great, thanks guys. So Ronil, starting with Audius, you guys have a very interesting architecture to how Audius works. The way that plays, likes, tracks, everything, all of that is tracked. And that leads to some certain design constraints for you guys and how you think about building it. So I'd love to hear a little bit more about how you guys made those decisions and the general thought process into what kind of infrastructure layer you build that on.
Yeah, so for everyone's brief context, the way the Audius network is architected, there's kind of this base consensus layer of, like Ben mentioned, where all engagement with content, uploads of content, et cetera, are settled, and then the higher levels of the network are able to follow that, that guidance. So, of course, that means that base layer becomes very quickly a bottleneck if it's slow. Right, and Audius very quickly kind of outstripped and outgrew the initial structure that we were built with. So we kind of, explored lots and lots of different options around last summer, and ended up deciding in August of last year to migrate Audius over to Solana. This is when we had about 120,000 or so monthly active users, and we kind of saw the writing on the wall that we really couldn't continue to grow at that stage to be able to actually continue to serve those folks. So the migration kind of progressed over the following 4 to 6 months. There are still some bits that need to finish migrating from Ethereum, and from POA network are the two other places where Audius operates today. But we've been pretty thrilled by the results. On good days today, the Audius network is processing like 400,000 or 500,000 plus transactions on Solana, and that couldn't be done anywhere else, right? And certainly not at the cost and with the latency structure that Solana is able to provide our users. So. Yeah, we've been pretty thrilled by the whole thing. It's, I don't think it's an understatement to say a use case like Audius couldn't work at consumer scale without Solana today.
Awesome. Sumit, so Chingari is a Web2 app primarily, and now you're making that foray into Web3. So I'd love to dive in a little bit more on those design decisions internally, on how you guys thought of making this journey into Web3 and how you guys are trying to optimize for this future of social Web3.
Absolutely. So I mean, we already had a community of users, a big community of creators, And for us, the idea that these guys can now be decision makers, that the community can also be owners of their own content, that was like really, really exciting. So every video that you upload on Chingari, it becomes an NFT on the Solana blockchain, and then gets bought, sold, and traded in a Gari marketplace. This way, we give ownership of content back to the creators. Like you create content on Instagram or Facebook, they own the content, they monetize it, and billions add to their balance sheet. We are just reversing that, and users now own their content. They make money out of it. The second most interesting thing for us was everything will be run now by a DAO. So every Gari holder, they have voting rights. They can put on-chain proposals and vote on the future of Chingari. So imagine, now you are part of a product decision. So it won't be the top leadership of Facebook or Instagram deciding how the product should move. It will be millions of Chingari users who will be now part of the product roadmap or any decision that they want, like how the community should grow. And I think that is the ethos of Web3, where a community comes together and they decide the future roadmap of the community and the product, or how the DAO treasury should be used. So like millions of dollars will be sitting on the DAO treasury. Where should that be deployed? What initiatives should the product take? That should be decided by the community. I think that for us is giving this power back to the Chingari community is the most exciting thing for us.
Awesome. And with that, everything that you just mentioned takes a lot of coordination and therefore a lot of on-chain transactions eventually. So
yeah.
I'm sure there was a very thorough process where you guys thought about, where do we build this? Do we create our own blockchain? Do we use some of the infrastructure that's already available there? So could you walk us through a little bit of like what that thinking process was that led you here?
Absolutely. So we evaluated a couple of blockchains. We ruled out some because of the high gas fee and the slow transaction speeds. Solana was one of those teams where obviously low gas fees and high transaction throughput was the obvious advantage. But I think the Solana ecosystem, the community, and this is way before the uptake of Solana. Like we started building 8 months back. At that time, Solana was fairly lesser known than today. But I really like the ecosystem, and I felt like this is something that I would like to do for next 10-15 years, and this is the team that I want to build build this project with, and then that was the primary decision for us.
Awesome. And Bram, so previously Kin was built on a fork of Stellar, and the infrastructure that you guys were building on effectively didn't serve your needs for the users, where you need transactions at a certain speed, and it wasn't providing that for you. So in the same line with the question to Sumit, can you talk us through what that design conversation was like in thinking that you needed to move elsewhere and how you made those decisions?
Sure. Yeah, so as you mentioned, we were on a fork of Stellar. And Stellar has a limitation about 100 transactions per second and 1 block each 5 seconds. Now, at a Solana conference, that's kind of comical, but that was the numbers that we were dealing with. And as a consumer-grade app, this is just not acceptable. If you have to wait 5 seconds for a transaction to materialize, that doesn't work. So in 2019, the team went out to check alternatives in the market that were out there. And after a few months of comparing what was there was actually a selection between Algorand and Solana. And I guess we can say Solana was the one that won. So yeah, Kin is one of the first major projects in Solana, early 2020, just like Summit. And you could count the number of Solana apps at one hand at the moment, but we're super glad that we made the decision. So to sum up the why, it's speed, scalability, and transaction cost. And then the founding team is impressive. So.
Could you shed a little light on how the user experience of Kin works right now, and why those things that you just mentioned are so germane to the project and the user experience?
Yeah, so we really aim to settle sub-second transactions, so that if a user, for instance, in a social media app hits a like, it will be on-chain directly, and they don't need to know that this is a blockchain transaction if they don't care about it. So we really try to hide that fact from the user. They don't have to know that they're working with a cryptocurrency, and we really try to hide all that stuff from them. Really make it work like a normal database.
Awesome. And staying on Kin, as you mentioned, you guys have been in the Solana ecosystem probably longer than most here. And in that time frame, you guys have increased your monthly active spenders or your users on Kin. I'd love to dive into a little bit more about the traction around Kin and what you guys are seeing today.
So in December 2020, about 10 months ago, we had a crazy migration of 55 million wallets. Today we're 60 million wallets. Now, at Kin, we have an open source API layer, which we call Agora. And our developers actually have SDKs that work with Agora. So this is kind of an abstraction. We try to hide for the developers also the hurdles that somebody might have with integrating blockchain. So we really try to simplify this process for them as well. And this means our developers integrating Kin, they think in concepts like create an account or submit a payment, without having to understand how this really materializes in Solana. And additionally, this layer really helped us migrate from Stellar to Solana with like the minimum amount of disruption for app developers.
Awesome. And Ronil, so staying on the topic of traction, I'd love to dive into more stats around how Audius has grown just in the last 24 months, but then even more specifically upon launching on Solana and the growth from there.
Yeah, so about a year ago this time, like October, November of 2020, Audius saw about 500,000 monthly users. So in that 1 year period, we like 14x'd or so usage, which has been pretty awe-inspiring. I think our community just is very rabid and rabidly excited about everything going on. Solana was definitely an enabler there too, right? In that the latencies that users were seeing around their actions, we had to engineer previously around a lot of the constraints of that layer one layer. Everything from like some of the things Bram mentioned, like chaining user actions in sequence such that, like, from the user's perspective, they think these things have all completed. But because we're dealing with 5 to 10 second block times on the background, it could take 2, 3, 4 minutes sometimes for all those things to finish. Like a user signs up, follows people, makes a playlist, adds some tracks to the playlist. The app would let you do all of those things before even the sign up had completed. It would basically queue these actions in the background and then kind of submit them in order, right, with the subsequent nonces as needed. So being able to have a user take an action and that reflected across the network more broadly, like virtually instantly, was quite a change from what users were used to with Audius, right, which was that within their little view of Audius, things were moving quickly, but if they sent a link to their track to someone else, for example, that person wouldn't be able to see the track for a few minutes, probably. And that was not a great user experience for obvious reasons. So yeah, there were some pretty cool improvements around all of this that I think have allowed us to continue to grow as a community to where the network is today. The use cases we're most excited about, though, and I would say this is like broadly across crypto, not just for Audius, are the ones that like were never possible before virtually free, highly scalable transactions, right? There are things like Ben mentioned now, being able to track the listening behavior of a user on chain that now allows open source recommendation systems to mine that data and do cool things with it. So if you wanted to build your own, Spotify Discover Weekly equivalent on Audius, all that data is there, open to be indexed, to be used however you want. The ability to decentralize these aspects of the product, that's kind of what got us so excited in the first place about this, right? And I think there's so many use cases that we just haven't, as a community, conceived of yet that I'm really excited to see get explored. I think we're on the cusp of some very, very interesting product development around mainstream crypto use cases.
Yeah. So staying in that same vein, Sumit, you guys are building basically the infrastructure for what the future of this Gari token, social token ecosystem is going to be. Kind of like what Ronil mentioned, where this is now giving rise to new data in an open source fashion, where then can be used to funnel into other products. Kind of in that same vein, what are you guys thinking about the future of what Chingari's social economy could lead to in the future for the creators that you have on your platform and beyond?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, for us, the experience of the user has to be like very non-crypto native. I mean, they shouldn't know what's running the backend. So when you are using Chingari, you feel that you are using just another short video app. What goes behind the scenes, the user will not experience that. Around the social currency, so Gari token will be used within the Chingari app for everything, like every transaction within Chingari, like tipping, or let's say you want to unlock a specific content of a user. All these transactions will be done through Gari tokens. So Gari will be like an in-app economy within the Chingari app, and it also will have voting and governance rights. I mean, that's how we see it as going forward.
And do you see that as a way to then like index that data in an open source fashion and then have that feed better communication and relationship building between the people who are interacting on your social network?
I mean, like this is one challenge actually for Chingari right now. So a lot of our users are non-crypto native. Out of these 30 million users, let's say just 1% or 2% of the users actually understand on-chain voting or making a proposal on-chain. Right. So for Chingari, we have a long path where we need to go ahead and educate these users, make them crypto native. Which is actually a big opportunity, because I see Gari being the first crypto token being used by millions of Indians before even they get to know about Ethereum or Bitcoin. And not just in India, I mean, we have global ambitions, so wherever we launch, I think Gari will be like the first token that they ever use. So yeah, even eventually, I mean, I think what you're saying is correct in terms of like how this will be all open, like it will be an open ecosystem, and Gari is not just being limited to Chingari app. Any third-party social app like Audius or any third-party social app which needs an in-app currency. It could be a game, like a social media game, who wants to let's say expand in India tomorrow. They can build on top of Gari's social tokens and Chingari APIs. I mean, we are opening up our platform like Facebook did it in its early days. So they can come and build on top of this existing infrastructure that we already have, use Gari as their in-app social currency, and build on top of the Chingari user base. So it's very open. I mean, it's supposed to be open. It's Web3.
Yeah, exactly. And Bram, just kind of staying in line with long-term vision of what you guys are thinking for Kin and the broader Web3 ecosystem and what you guys are building socially, I'd love to hear a bit more about your plans for the next 1 to 5 years.
I think 5 years is a very long time in technology in general, and crypto space even more. Mm-hmm. So I'm not here to predict that future, but I think if you'd had a word cloud here in the Solana conference, like the word Solana, the next biggest word is obviously NFT. So we're really trying to explore how we can leverage NFTs for our app developers. Now, one thing to realize is that Audius and Chingara are user-facing apps built by these teams, but we don't build user-facing apps ourselves. We are a utility provider that works with teams like the gentleman next to me. So we really want to explore how somebody, for instance, can have their degen ape bought on Solana and use it as an avatar in their game. Or buy in-app items, collectibles, NFTs, and have a little car that you drive around in one game, send it to the other game, and drive it around there. So we really believe in integrating that, and Solana is just the obvious choice of doing this. The ecosystem is booming, NFTs are booming, so we try to be upfront and forefront of enabling that. We have to make changes to do that, but Solana is definitely the enabler for this. So,
awesome. Well, we are just about running out of time, so thank you guys for joining me. Super excited for the future of Web3 on Solana, and free Raj. Thank you, @Jack.
That was great.